Thank you, Chloe, and thank you, everyone. Thank you to TSS and the team for having me here. I want to start off by first having everyone just look at that image for a second. Just look at that image. How many of you feel a little bit more peaceful just by looking at an image like that? Show of hands. All right. Well, did you know that your stress recovery rate improves by 20% just by looking at an image of nature? So we're going to go ahead and take it one step further. Can I invite all of you to very gently close your eyes? I'll join you in the process. All right, if your eyes are closed. Nature. What is the first word, or what is the first feelings that come to you when you think of the word nature? Imagine a space that you're in. Some of you might be on a snow-capped mountain. Some of you might be on a beach, a warm beach. I would really like that. A warm beach somewhere in Thailand. Maybe some of you are in a desert. But I want you to feel your senses in this place. What does it feel like? What does the place smell like? What do you see? What do you hear? Absorb that for a minute. And I want you to take a slow, deep breath in. Let's do it together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And let that out. And you can very gently open your eyes. I hope you're feeling a little calmer. This is one of the activities that we do with participants who come to OurLand. And one of our missions at OurLand is to get people closer to nature, but also to get them over the fear of nature. How many of you have heard of the word biophobia? Very few in the crowd. Biophobia is the fear of nature. In a recent study that was done, 46% of children living in cities had biophobia, had fear of nature. Right? But who am I to tell you about this? So a little bit about my past. I spent my life in the automotive industry. I started off as an automotive journalist, test driving the coolest cars in the world, around different countries. And then I spent time, as I said, driving to exotic places like this in Tibet. I spent a year racing cars. I spent another year racing trucks. And I spent 5 years in the corporate world. And during this time is when it comes to a part of where my life actually changed. As Chris mentioned before this is the Big Mango. Does anyone know what the Big Mango is? Which city is called the Big Mango? Bangkok is called the Big Mango. Thank you very much. But this is also where I had my mental breakdown. This is where I questioned the meaning of life. And I sincerely hope that none of you really have to do that, because it sounds nice in a story, but it's a very painful experience to be questioning the meaning of life. Asking why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I here in this car company trying to make people believe that this is the car you should buy and not this one? It's a very difficult choice. I was extremely anxious. I was very depressed. I was medicated and trying to get out the anxiety and the depression. But I remember my mother's words. As an Indian child growing up in Thailand, I would go back to India every year. And my mother would let me loose in the jungles of Kerala, southern India. and she'd say, "Go wild there." And that made sense. And I did the exact same thing in Thailand. Every weekend, as soon as I was done with work, I would head out into the jungles and look for nature, look for that peace within myself. And that is where we got the idea to found OurLand. OurLand was Thailand's first privately owned wildlife reserve. It was set on the edge of the Western Forest Complex, the largest contiguous forest complex in all of Southeast Asia. It is home to the majestic Asian elephant, the mysterious clouded leopard, and the magnificent green peacock. So many animals there, so much life. And this is an image that some of you might have already seen before, right? And this is the mission of OurLand that it started off. As you can see over here, the yellow line is a highway. Way up on top is a huge forest, protected wildlife sanctuary. And way down below, you can see a river. All these animals are trying to get down to the river for a drink of water. But they cannot make it through because of farmers protecting their farmland. OurLand's mission was to create a corridor through the space so that we could allow the animals to get to the water safely and get back out again. There was only one problem. We didn't have much money. So where did we start? This is an image of what happens at OurLand at night. And that was the last time we saw that camera. But we managed to get the SD card out, and this image came out of it, right? We didn't have any money. So what was our way out? Our way out was to convert our refuge in the jungle into an education center. What do we do at an education center? We do all the usual stuff. Biology, chemistry, ecology, study of different species. But there's one thing that we really focused on, and that was nature immersion. What is nature immersion? Nature immersion is when all of your senses are so immersed in nature that your mind starts to shut off. Or your mind is also connected to all of your senses. And that is what we focused on. Like these students over here are actually building a mud house. And as they squeeze in with their feet the wet clay soil and the rice husk, they're not just building a mud house. They're creating unforgettable memories in nature. Or like doing this, floating down this river for 40 minutes is the only way to get to OurLand. It's the only access point in, right? And then you trek through a jungle for another 20 minutes. But as you're cocooned by the river, once again, you're completely immersed in nature. What happens when you make people fall in love with nature? People want to protect nature. And these students here are learning how to care for wild trees at a tree nursery nearby. And who do they learn from? They learn from the local villagers. This is the head of the village in the region. And who do they do it with? They do it with the local students. All part of one team. There is no conservation without people. But let's bring it back to that thing I started off in the beginning. Biophobia. How many of you are afraid of snakes? Okay. Absolutely normal fear, but biophobia in the new age seems to get worse than just snakes. People are now afraid of butterflies. How many of you have a fear of butterflies? One person, two people. Two people have a fear of butterflies, right? How many of you are afraid of dirt? If you were to step on really squishy mud. Anybody afraid of mud, of dirt? Okay, none over here. That's great. How many of you are afraid of mushrooms, by the way? That's another biophobia. Afraid of mushrooms. That's right, there you go. We have one person here too. Right? So this is biophobia, and this is the new age of biophobia as more people spend time in cities away from nature. Right? Now I want you to imagine your life and the lives we live right now. The reason why people have biophobia is because of the spaces that they're in. You wake up in the morning in a box, on a box. What is that box? Your bed. And the first thing you do after you wake up on that box is to look at a box. What is that box? Your phone, right? It's your phone, yeah, you said your phone. And then you get into a box to go somewhere. Your car. And then you get to a really big box. A building. And in the building, you access a smaller box. It is the classroom, the office. And in there, you sit in front of another box. The computer. And when you're tired, after spending the day looking at that box, you look out through another box at the world, the window. We humans are boxed in. Where there is nature, there is lesser boxes. But these boxes affect not just us, they affect nature. Like in this case, at OurLand, another situation that we have is wildlife sanctuaries, for example. Elephants trying to get out of wildlife sanctuaries because these are the boxes that we created for these animals. Elephants, you guys stay here. Don't go outside, okay? When you come outside, you get firecrackers, you get guns, you get electrical fences. Boxing people in, ourselves and nature. That is quite a bit of a problem. How do you unbox? You unbox by spending time in nature, right? This is one of the nature pods at OurLand, one of the activities that some of you will be doing when you're there at OurLand, and it's just a beautiful way to unbox, because you're sitting there in the middle of nature, away from everybody else, just immersing yourself in nature. Now we were lucky that in the past year, we were noticed by the United Nations. The United Nations has got a special division just for conservation of nature, right? In our case, it's called the UNCCD, United Nations Convention for Combating Desertification. And they found the work that we were doing really interesting, so they made a video about it. So I'm going to play that video over here and then continue afterwards. Nature conservation effort. It's an effort to bring people back to nature again. We run a nature and sustainability education center where children and adults come to learn about being in nature or about sustainability and how to spend a good time in nature. The three core pillars of OurLand are conservation, sustainability, and education. You're right on this one, not up there, but down here, right? Vijo Varghese, and we are currently in Wangno, which is on the edge of the Western Forest Complex, which is the largest contiguous forest complex in Southeast Asia. OurLand began funded entirely from our personal savings. Within 3 years, we achieved financial sustainability, but the onset of COVID brought unexpected challenges. To protect the land, we turned to crowdfunding, which not only sustained us, but also led us to an angel investor who helped secure the land block, ensuring its preservation for future generations.
My name is Anshuman Tripathi. I am one of the co-founders of OurLand. My title is the CFO for OurLand, and I'm basically handling the sales and the book side of things. One of the biggest challenges in running a conservation project is balancing between your environmental responsibilities and your financial realities. Our approach in OurLand has been through providing travelers a nature-based education and allowing them to be directly in nature, in contact with nature, so that they understand the benefits that they get from it.
As I lived a life in the corporate world, I started to question the meaning of what I was doing. I would head out into the jungle. I was able to hear myself think. I felt calm in nature. Most people don't realize the impacts that their bodies go through while living in cities. Whether that is impurity of the air, the sounds that they're listening to at all times, the kind of foods that they eat. You're going down the river to get to OurLand. Cognitive ability is working. Accessing OurLand is a journey in itself. We float down the river for about 40 minutes, and then we get to the spot that the elephants come for a drink of water. Then we walk through the jungle to learn about how the elephants manage the ecosystem. Being in nature for children is really important. In developed countries, 5 to 10% of children have anxiety disorders. And I think the main reason is that they're not getting enough nature time. What we are basically doing is working on their biophobia. Biophobia is a fear that people have of nature. We're moving them from biophobia into biophilia, which is the love for nature. The piece of land that OurLand owns currently is part of a corridor that allows wild elephants to go from the Salakpra Wildlife Sanctuary to the Kweya River for a drink of water. Our objective is to provide a corridor that allows the elephants to go through. We have not completed the corridor yet. We've only acquired about 12% of the corridor, and our objective is to acquire more so we can allow easy access for the elephants to go through. In the past years, we have been fortunate to put through documentation to the local government and put streetlights in place, because most of the crashes take place at night. When people are driving fast, they don't see a black, huge figure going across the road.
For the big seat, just use one seat only.
We take visitors out to the local communities and do activities with them, like planting new trees, like spending time at a wild tree nursery, caring for these little plants, and also visiting the community forest. We're about to head into the jungle, and we need a little bit of calm energy. Yeah, had all high energy, that was fun. So, one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly. Right.
We all work in this industry through passion. If we weren't determined, if we weren't passionate, we wouldn't be out in the middle of nowhere trying to do this, or we wouldn't go out of our way to try to get there.
OurLand is simply a deep love for nature. It's a need to be in nature. It's a need for people to realize that humans are not separate from nature. Researchers have looked into it and they found that about 120 to 140 minutes per week is a good amount of time to be spending in nature. So that's what the OurLand concept is. It's just to bring people back into nature. All right, thank you so much for that. Before we go on, there's a little bit more. I just want to leave with a little bit more information for you guys. Before we do that, I want you guys, everyone, to stand up again. Stand, please, come on. Everybody stand up. Been sitting for a while. What we're going to do is we're going to become trees. Okay? We're all going to become trees for a while. Right? So look to your left, look to your right, and space out from the tree on the side of you a bit. Space out a bit, space out a bit, right? You can't have all the trees growing in the same place, right? And we are going to, first of all, plant our feet really well on the ground. Imagine that you're a tree and look at the roots of the tree over there. Make sure your feet are planted well, right? And with that thought in mind, everybody, please close your eyes. Close your eyes. Feel your feet, relocate your feet again. Move it around a little bit. Move around a little bit. Make sure your roots are in place really well. Right? And I want you to feel the tree trunk, which is your legs, as it moves up. And now you're a growing tree. So as you're growing, keep your eyes closed, right? Keep your eyes closed. As you're a growing tree, I want you to imagine that your hands are slowly moving up. What are your hands? Your hands are your branches. So branches are slowly moving up. Let's move those branches up. Let's move those branches up, right? And imagine that they're reaching out for the sun. Let's reach out to the sun. First rays of sunlight in the morning after a long, dark night. And then comes a very gentle breeze. As we feel the breeze, of course, you need to sway a little bit. Sway just a little bit. And then start to feel a little bit of rain. How would your tree that you are be after it start to feel a little bit of rain? Sound effects are totally fine. All right, sound effects are good. That's right, rain's coming down, right? And now it's a storm. Let's move it. It's a big storm. That's right, moving left and right. That's right, moving left and right. It's a big storm. And all your branches are really heavy with lots of water. And then a wind comes by and you shake that off. Just shake it. Shake off all the water off the branches. That's right. And reach up again for the sun. For the next day. Sun's up, hands up, reach up again. And then very gently open your eyes. Keep your hands up. Open your eyes and take a look around at your friends and realize how silly they look doing this. All right, have a seat, please. Thank you. All right. I know this is a late night. It is already 8:15, so then I'm going to keep this short as possible, right? A little bit of information about OurLand. Some of you have already been in some of the classes that I was in earlier today. So just want to reestablish the mission. The core mission of OurLand is one, to reestablish natural spaces, and number two, to increase human-wildlife coexistence. The second part's really important because what is our current population of Earth? 8 billion people. 20 years from now, it is expected to be 10 to 11 billion people. Number of people are going up. The amount of spaces that we have for wild animals is going down. So therefore, that's a massive issue, and that's what the mission of OurLand is. OurLand's got 4 parts: the reserve, the eco-village, the education center, and the farm. You guys already know this part. You want to skip it? Over the past 8 years, right, this is what we've protected, right? If you see on your left, you see farmland, that was farmland, completely deforested, and then on the right, you see how the jungle has regenerated over the years. We are completely sustainable and self-sufficient, right? We've got completely solar-powered, 100% solar power. We make our own houses out of mud bricks. Thanks to some of you students out here who have already made some mud bricks with us. We've built a new house with that one. We harvest rainwater, and this is our education center. Every space in nature is a place to educate people. So this is the education center that we run, right? This is the agroforestry farm that we run. Farming is a major problem globally, and this is how we're working it. This is our take on it. And for those of you who like the marine world a little bit more, this is our OurLand Marine program that runs in the south of Thailand. Quick question. But before that, let me take a deep breath. Let's take a deep breath. Everybody take a deep breath. Of the breath that you took, what percentage of the oxygen in there comes from the trees around you? What was the answer? Right? You guys were in that class. 20% of what you breathe, 20 to 30% of the oxygen that you breathe comes from the trees. Where does the remaining 70% come from? It comes from the ocean. That's right, thank you. It comes from the ocean. And most people don't realize that, which is why it is so important to be protecting our oceans as well. These are active projects that we're running. We got education. As was mentioned, I'm a big fan of snakes. So we have a wildlife rescue center. We work on human-wildlife conflict situations. We do some research. I don't do this alone. I have an amazing team. I'm just a tiny tip of the iceberg that explains things and is out here to speak about it. I would never be able to do it if I did not have these amazing people. And these people have made amazing connections with several TASIS students who have been there, and also chaperones as well who have been there, right? So this is our OurLand team, and they're amazing. But I want to transition on to a few points that can be more sensitive. I think most of us already know about the situation that our world is in today. We are in a state of war, and war causes lots of pain. We cause pain to humans, but we also cause pain to nature. And I think that Hubert Reeves puts it best. And I want you to read that line in your minds and read it again. We are at war with nature. If we win, we are lost. Think about that. If we win, we're lost. And this is a situation that is going on worldwide. What is the cause of this war? Why are we at war with nature? What are we doing that is causing this war? Can anybody shoot out? It's just a one word. Anyone have any ideas? What is the war? Yes. Sorry? Expansion. Expansion. That's right. Expansion is one. Expansion surely is one. But what is this thing that we're doing every day? We're all doing this every day. Starts with the C. Sorry? No, well, you're using your phone to do it. Using your phone to do it. Starts with the C. We are Consumers. Consumerism. We're continuously consuming. We're always consuming things, right? We're consuming things, and the worst thing about it is sometimes we're not aware of what we are consuming. I want to eat a steak, but what's the impact of that steak somewhere else in the world? Jungles of Amazon are being chopped up because they have to grow meat there. I want a new car. Earth is being mined for metal, for use. I want electronic devices that require lots of batteries. A child in the Congo has to harvest that for me. These are the realities of consumerism that we're not aware of. How can we decrease consumerism? How can we decrease it? Ideas? Any ideas on how we can just simply, it's an easy way to decrease consumerism? Recycle. Recycle is good. Consume less. How do we consume less? Well, there's an easy way. And there's some science to back it up too. When we are more grateful, when we are more thankful, when we are more blessed, we consume less. How many of you relate to this? How many of you feel connected that, yeah, when I'm happier, when I'm more grateful, when I just generally feel blessed, I don't feel like buying new stuff? How many of you can relate to this emotion? All right, thank you. So that's actually a fact. How do we feel more grateful, thankful, and be blessed? You can feel that by being in nature. So today I just want to leave you with 3 tips on how to get that feeling so we can consume a little lesser. Number 1 is to go to nature. Number 2 is to bring nature to you. And number 3 is to find nature within you. How do you go to nature? It's very simple. You just go to nature. Find places and go to nature, right? Super easy. And where do you find there are places with more nature or less nature? How do you define a place that's got more nature or less nature? Anybody? If there's trees, that's right, if there's trees. And here's another simple one. If there is lesser boxes. Wherever there is lesser boxes, there is more nature. Right? Think of these images, and none of them have boxes in them. Right? Except the fact that they're in boxes. But besides that, now here's the second part of the question. How much time should you spend in nature? This is also science. This is not something I'm making up. How much time should you spend in nature? Thank you very much. A big hand, please. I want 120 to 140 minutes per week. This has been proven to improve physical and mental well-being. Right? So spend more time in nature, and that's good for you. Boxes again. Even a park. People ask me, like, does it have to be all the way out in the jungle? No, it can be a park, right? You have lesser boxes. Number 2, bring nature to you. How many of you know somebody who has their house look like that? I see if you guys did. Anybody of you know people like that? Yes. Yes, absolutely, yes. There are some people like that. So bring nature to you. This is an amazing way to bring nature to you. And if you're wondering what kind of plant, if any of you are considering a plant, there is one plant that's approved by NASA that takes to space. Right? It is called the snake plant. And what is really unusual about this plant is that it releases oxygen at night. Most plants will release oxygen during the day, but this plant will release oxygen during the day and also at night. So and not release carbon dioxide. So very easy. It's called a snake plant. Very easy to remember, right? And other things are the sense of touch. Look around you right now. Is there anything around you that is natural in form? Does anybody have anything with them right now that is natural in form? Right? What is natural in form? Does anyone have anything around you that's natural in form? That is still in its raw form, still feels like nature. And I'm not talking about your friend's skin, but just talking about is there anything around you that is natural in form? This has changed just in the past 100 years. 100 years ago, we would have tons of things with people that would be still raw and natural in form. But today we do not. So, always just hold a piece of wood or rock, and that's a great way to go. Listen to nature. I guess you guys already know this. You can just turn YouTube on and listen to that. Smell has an amazing sense as well. And taste, right? Taste things that are completely natural, not processed foods. And the last part I want to leave you with is to remember that you are actually nature. How many of you actually believe that statement, that you are nature? How many of you truly believe that statement? Because it's a very difficult statement to believe, right? Like, I am nature. Actually, you are the epitome of nature. Humans evolved on Earth for 3.3 million years. 3 million years as Homo erectus, and then 300,000 years as Homo sapiens, and now we are this form. We're actually, literally, just nature. So let's not forget that aspect, that we are nature and we evolved from nature, and returning to nature is a really, really important thing. And as three things that I mentioned, go out into nature. And that, by the way, is the snake plant. The one in the middle is called the snake plant. It's also called Sansevieria. And to bring nature to you. And last but not least, be kind on yourself. This is me trying really hard to be an environmentalist, an educator, a conservationist, and we have a bunch of lovely students who are here to learn about elephants. And I have an elephant right next to me, and what I'm doing is replying to my email on my phone. So, it's okay to make mistakes. You just have to remember that you can get better and find ways for you to connect to yourself as well, right? So thank you very much for your time over here today.